Welcome to my interpersonal communications project. Human Services 508. Slide 2. According to Jon Stewart in his book Bridges Not Walls, a book about interpersonal communication, he defines communication as the continuous, complex, collaborative process of verbal and nonverbal meaning making. But conversation involves a lot more than just getting your point across to someone. As Stewart says, communication involves more than one person getting an idea, sending the message to another, the other receiving that message and formulating ideas from the message. Successful communication involves the people's ability to continuously connect with each other rather than the distribution of ideas back and forth. Adding to this thought, Stewart uses the metaphor of inhaling and exhaling to explain the receptive and expressive parts of communication. And during the inhaling process, he explains that our brain is selecting, organizing, and inferring facts based on our perceptions. Slide 3. To enlarge my conversation, I must constantly seek to improve in certain areas, step outside the box, and try something new. Mills Carbonell says, to improve, we must first accept that we are who we are and can't change where we came from, what color we are, and most of the things about us. But we can alter our behavior. We can learn to recognize why we do what we do, then learn to guard our strengths and avoid our weaknesses. Listening to others and responding appropriately is a crucial tool to improve our relationships. Burley Allen says that we can use our listening skills to take charge of a situation and influence their outcome. But to effectively enlarge my conversation, I must train myself to listen and then respond appropriately. For me, the beginning point of enlarging my conversation is to start by seeking wisdom from the Lord. As James 1 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. Slide 4. My overreaching goal to enlarge my conversation is to listen at level 1 and improve my nexting skills. Slide 5. Burley Allen lays out 3 levels of listening. The most effective listening is done at level 1. During the course of a conversation, we can become distracted and not focus on what is being said. However, a level 1 listener pays attention to the speaker and does not allow himself to become distracted. He listens empathetically and uses verbal and nonverbal signs that demonstrate to the speaker that they are listening from the heart. Once the message has been received and comprehended, one must respond appropriately, which is the second step for me to enlarge my conversation. In addition to becoming a level 1 listener, I also need to improve my nexting skills. Nexting is defined by Stewart as doing something helpful next, responding fruitfully to what has just happened, taking an additional step in the communication process. Slide 6. One of the difficulties of achieving my goal is to overcome what I see as weaknesses in my behavioral blend. In the area of what I believe others expect of me, I am submissive and tend to avoid conflict. I often avoid conflict because I don't feel I have all the information or can make a clear argument. Being security-oriented, I like gathering information before making a decision. I also tend to be hesitant about speaking my opinions for fear they may be shot down or criticized. Slide 7. My strengths are in how I perceive myself. I am a very reserved person. My preference is to work behind the scenes without having to receive credit for a job. I am easy to get along with and caring. I can also relate to others in need. I am loyal and enjoy serving others in church or at work. I am patient and seek ways to make peace rather than engage in direct conflict. I also thrive in being a loyal follower and seeing a job well done as I help others. These strengths can help me as I work to reach my overreaching goal. Slide 8. As I work toward my goal, there are many barriers to overcome. Burley Allen suggests that one of the biggest barriers to our communication is poor listening skills. Oftentimes during a conversation, I tend to be thinking ahead about where the conversation is headed or how I might respond. When I'm not interested in what is being said, I allow my mind to wander and only hear what I think is important, oftentimes leaving out vital information. Emotions can also get in the way of my hearing, and thus I lose interest in the message. Another barrier to effective communication is poor nexting skills, not being responsive in the conversation and not contributing to the conversation. Slide 9. We have internal and external barriers that affect our listening, and some of the factors suggested by Burley Allen is that when our energy level is low, our personal problems can cause us to daydream and we don't concentrate on the speaker. Lag time is also a factor that influences our listening. Our minds have the ability to process about 500 words per minute, but the average speaker speaks 125 words per minute. This gives our minds time to wander. Semantic barriers can also affect our communication in that words and expressions can mean different things to different people. External barriers to our listening can be loud noises, uncomfortable temperatures, and interruptions in our conversations. Slide 10. To reach my goal, I need to provide solution to overcome these barriers, and the first is to concentrate and take notes while I'm listening if my energy level is low. If I notice my mind wandering during a conversation, I need to use this time to summarize what is being said in my mind, as suggested by Stewart. I can also ask for clarification if the meaning of a word or a phrase seems to be confusing. In regards to the external barriers, I need to try to connect with the speaker. Stewart suggests that we need to slow down our thinking process, focus on the speaker, paying attention to verbal and nonverbal cues. Slide 11. The first part of my plan of action for reaching my goal is to train myself to listen at level 1. I need to train myself to be an empathetic listener, not judging the speaker, and try to view things from their perspective. As suggested by Susan Rice in her research, I need to develop a positive listening character, being attentive and patient. As the speaker is talking, I need to acknowledge and respond appropriately with verbal and nonverbal signs, paying close attention to what is being said and not get distracted. I need to try to connect with the person to truly understand their message. Listening at level 1 is also part of being a mindful listener, that is, connecting more thoroughly with the speaker. Slide 12. To achieve my goal, I need to overcome this fear of expressing myself. And some of the ways of doing this are by volunteering and taking charge of projects to gain confidence, becoming more assertive in my opinions. And when conflict arises, I need to accept that as a fact of life. Some conflict can result in healthy discussions and growth. Slide 13. An important part of participating in a conversation is responding appropriately. Stewart says that rather than ignoring a situation, we need to be willing to respond and contribute to the way things are unfolding during a conversation. He calls this being responsible. Peterson suggests that when it's our turn to talk, we should do so without accusing, attacking, or labeling the listener. My contribution to a conversation needs to be positive and reinforcing. If I'm on the listening end of a conversation, my nexting skills need to be used not to give my opinion, but rather to make helpful comments that will promote the speaker to come up with their own solutions to a problem or situation, as suggested by Peterson. Slide 14. Interpersonal communication is an important part of how we relate and interact with others. To become a better communicator, I need to improve my listening skills. Mordaunt and Olson suggest that by enlarging our vocabulary and having better comprehension of the language, we can improve our listening skills. Being a mindful listener, listening empathetically, focusing and connecting with my speaker will help me concentrate to overcome the internal and external barriers that will always be present. In addition to practicing these listening skills, I need to be more willing to add to a conversation, being responsive to the speaker, and promoting good dialogue. As I work on these areas, I will use the strengths of my personality type and try to avoid the weaknesses as I gradually change them. Thank you.